Kia ora e te iwi and welcome to The Chew, coming at you from the studio here in Kāmuriwai, Arrowtown. Ko Arrowtown Dad, tēnei. And this week we're having another chew with the bro Arne. Kia ora, brother.
Kia ora, bro.
All right, so this week's chew's going to be, Māori focused, like you and I often chat about, and just to frame the subject this week. So for those of you who don't already know, Arne and I both work for the local council, QLDC, Queenstown Lakes District Council here in Queenstown. Arne's role is Māori Strategic Advisor. I'm gonna let you say what it is, bro.
Māori Strategy and Partnerships Manager.
Yeah, that's it.
There you go.
That's what I was trying to say.
So when I was first employed, I was something different. I was a Māori advisor, but they realised I was the only manager that didn't have manager in the title.
Yeah, right.
And so they thought that it was a bit of a bad look, the only Māori role. And so they asked me to change it, and we came up with that one. And then they said, what about the Māori job title? And I'm not comfortable with Māori job titles. I don't think they're... I'm not a big fan of translating Māori anyway. But I came across a term, whakahoahoa.
Yep.
What's your whakaaro?
Whakahoahoa to me can be two things. Like hoahoa can mean friendship, but it can also mean design.
Yeah.
So, so it depends on the context of the use. Yeah.
So I tried to, I made a cheeky proposal that my Māori job title should be kai whakahoahoa, which I thought would have been a little bit funny to us. Like, it's genuine.
It is.
There's a genuine thing.
It is. Well, I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I know that it would get giggles as well.
Yeah, for sure.
We didn't end up getting that. I think I kept my original one, but yeah.
Well, so I'll tell you what my Māori job title name is. I never use it because it's too much of a mouthful.
Yeah.
It's Kaitiaki Raraunga Pūnaha.
Raraunga.
Yeah, Raraunga. So
Raraunga.
yeah, Raraunga is Māori word for data. So Kaitiaki Raraunga is it's kind of what I do in IT, which is database administrator or database caretaker, if you like. And then it slaps Pūnaha on the end of it. Pūnaha is system. So I'm a data systems analyst. And what you said about you're not that keen to use Māori job titles, that's how I feel about my job title.
Yeah.
It just seems like too constructed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much do you think that comes down to, like, traditionally in some iwi, our ingoa were gifted or inherited?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it comes a little bit down to that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it more the fact that Māori being an oral language never really wasn't written down, so it was more about the feel of it, the vibe?
Well, I mean, we had labels for people back in the day. You know, they were tohunga, karakia, or you had kaihau fishermen. So there were lots of I guess ways to label people back in the day, but I think we've tried too hard to turn it into the English version, but just said in Māori.
Yeah, and that's what I don't mind, and I think the world's getting a little bit better with that. Like, you're starting to see, instead of in policies and stuff, the English section, and then
the translated
version in Māori. What you're starting to see more is it might be the title of the section and maybe a whakatauki or a little bit of a statement that captures the essence of what the English version is trying to sort of craft. And I love that.
Yeah.
Because you know, it's that whole, that comedic thing of someone's trying to explain something to you and you're like, and then when someone just gives you one line, you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah. He iti te kupu, he nui te kōrero.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
that's
so
the one.
that's our common saying that we have. So although the words are small, the story behind it is big.
Big,
Yeah,
powerful.
yeah, and that's what we try to achieve when we, when we speak te reo. You want to say as little as possible to give it the most amount of meaning. As a beginner, because I've gone through the whole beginner stage of learning te reo. At the beginning stage, you say everything in the longest way possible. Yeah, and it's it is very little meat on the bones in what you say, but it takes you forever to say it. Yeah. So
I think that's definitely been a struggle of mine as a fellow that grew up learning Māori.
Yeah.
And then went away from Māori and coming back to Māori. My wife's done the Te Wānanga courses. I haven't, cool. and whatnot.
Awesome.
Because I just get so hoha with the ko Arne Burgess tōku ingoa. Ko.
Yeah, the cause.
But I understand that it needs to happen. And actually, I did some of her when she was doing, was it level 2 or level 3, sat in on some of her classes just off camera. And I struggled with some of it.
Yeah.
To get the, especially E key, R, E.
Oh, the E's keys. Bro, I've seen the mātanga at the highest level have arguments about E and key. Yeah. So I'm watching them, going, oh, I think it's this, oh, I think it's that. And I'm going, man, if these guys can't agree with it, then what chance do I have, Yeah. So...
And then, it was my old teacher who just, he gave this kōrero and basically just said, as long as someone understands what you're trying to put down, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, that's all good. But if you do say it wrong, there is a few out there that'll sit there and go, yeah. So
no, that's it's all really important stuff, and bro, we kind of go through these experiences. For you and I, at the moment, probably more so you, we go through this interesting, trying to have this synergy between a council world and a Māori world. Yeah. And
we sit right in the middle of the road, where Karona and Te Ao Māori. And come together.
We're trying to be all things for all people, and it's so hard. It's so hard. Sometimes, I see things sometimes within my workplace, and I'm like, it's so hard to ram a Māori round peg into this Pākehā square hole, but,
Well, that's some advice I'd give for any Māori that's going for a Māori role within, the Crown, be it government, local government, whatnot. It's all about your manager.
Yeah.
And whoever's, and if you're in that interview stage and you feel like it's going good and they ask you what you need, my advice would be, if push comes to shove and I need to decide between my Māori side and who I work with, I need the assurity that I can stay true to myself and not risk my job. So if push comes to shove, I need to stand with whānau.
Yeah.
But that's not as a point of, I'm not belittling my employer. It's just this is who I am as a person. So
for sure. And sometimes as Māori we get into these conundrums where I certainly do, where I see cultural elements that as a Māori, that's the place that I move to first, and then my workplace requirements become secondary. But then I sit there and go, hang on, but I'm being paid by this workplace. Like at which stage does one sort of push me or pull me away from the other? The answer's easy. The Māori side would always win, regardless of who pays me. I'm first and foremost, I'm Māori. So,
100%. You're going to stay Māori, whether you work for that organisation or not. So...
And bro, I'll tell you a funny story, and I'll be interested to hear your experiences may or may not be similar. So when I was younger, I wasn't a big fan of the whole Māori thing.
I like that.
I was raised in the 80s, 70s and 80s, where it was all about, moving to the cities and getting jobs. It was always like, I wanted to go to the shops and get a bag of rations and play spaceys, the whole Māori thing.
But there's people under the age of 30 listening to this.
Oh, yeah, you don't know what a spaceys is.
Video games, whānau, video games.
Yeah, they actually used to have video games outside dairies when we were young. So I didn't really vibe with the whole Māori thing, hey, bro? And it was difficult for me because I didn't want to be Pākehā. It was more like I didn't want to be culturally Māori,
we didn't want to be typecasted, right? Or stereotyped.
So here's the thing. This is where I'm going to, bro. Yeah. So I try to pretend I was just like everybody else. I was like all my other fucking white-skinned mates. But I was never treated like that.
Yeah.
I was treated like I was, I was treated like I was Māori. But what was one of the few negative, not the few, but this was so common back when I grew up. A lot of people who never integrated with Māori, never had anything to do with Māori, their only perceptions of Māori were all negative. We were all like wife-beating fucking drunks and stuff like that. So, I got judged by people who never knew me, and they just called me all these things, bro. So what I found was that those behaviours pushed me back to my Māoritanga. They said, look, internally I said, man, you've been denying this thing that you are, but everyone is treating you as that thing.
Yeah.
So that's what sort of pushed me back to it.
Yeah. Call something enough times. And then they're going to start to believe it, right? Look, I met huge amounts of similar conversations. Mum moved us down to Ōtautahi when I was 7 years old. And this was right on the cusp, 1990. So you could not get too different, East Tamaki to Beckenham in Christchurch.
Beckenham. You didn't even end up in Aranui or somewhere.
No. The most Pākehā sounding, And, first day of school, I was the colour of poo. That's...
Of course.
That's
I got called that, bro.
Yeah. Colour of this or that, and do you have... Is your dad in jail? And Yeah. Well, Dad wasn't in jail yet, but,
How did you know?
Yeah. But, the world has come a long way, but... Yes, it's even those... You talk about rocking around with your white mates and Pākehā mates and whatnot... How often I think about going in and around my old man, my stepdad, and my actual dad's rugby teams or workplaces or whatnot. Ever heard nowadays, if someone's called Blackie, it's because their last name is Black.
Yeah, right.
Back in the 80s, Blackie was because
very
you
common,
were brown.
Yeah.
And so, man, massively different times. I get confronted with it sometimes whenever I watch a TV show from back in the day, oh yeah, that's what it used to be like. Footrot Flats.
Yeah.
What's the Māori fella?
Oh yeah, Rangi.
Yeah.
Rangi, but Rangi. Yeah. Barefoot, long haired. Yeah, the whole scruffy looking dude.
Real good at rugby. Yeah. So, look, and that's the thing. But I mean, the world is moving on. I wouldn't say it's moved on, but it's moving on.
Yeah.
And credit to our organisation. They're taking steps.
Yep.
It'd be good to see more, and we're trying to do stuff to help that out. But there's little pieces that they bring into our work lives that or that are present in our work lives that is, genuine efforts, I suppose. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we can talk about how much is what we expect, but that's a different conversation for me compared to you, compared to, whoever it is in council. But we're fighting the battle, bro. We're fighting the battle.
Yeah, we are fighting the battle. So, and just to finish off that experience that I had, so it moved me back to my Māori space and made me really identify who I am as a Māori person. But more importantly, I felt a responsibility to try and change the perception. Because one of my friends that I work with in Christchurch, he said to me, he goes, because there was something on the news about some Māori activists, protesting about land. And he said, oh, man, he gets sick of these bloody Maoris and their land things. And they're like, yeah. And he looked at me and he said, oh, but you're one of the good ones. and like, I got angry with him and to the point where I wanted to beat him up. Like I did push him up against the wall. It was like unacceptable, my reaction. But I just saw red at the time and just said, how could you, how could you do that? Just sort of have this opinion of who I am. So after I calmed down, and he's a really, really nice guy. He's just like so many others. He was ignorant of stuff, right? So he said to me, man, I'm so sorry that you got upset about that. He goes, I don't understand why that happened. Like, can you kind of tell me what was going on there? I had to explain to him that I am one of those people. But just because I'm not out there with a picket fucking saying save our land doesn't mean I don't sympathise with that position. I said I am fully on their side, but I'm sitting here going, how can I best help? And it's and to me, I'm like, well, I'm not. I don't know if going out there with a picket and sort of trying and throwing things at police is the best way to go about it.
Yeah, definitely.
But
well, we had this conversation in not in private, but together. Around Waitangi.
Yeah, that's right.
And for me, I had that position around the march at the Hikoi. In all honesty, I couldn't be bothered walking the 5K to town. That's probably a pretty bad thing to say, but also...
It was long, bro. It was longer than I expected.
But also, for me, I see the mahi that I do as my effort to contribution to righting the wrongs. So, how can I best help, right? So sitting back and going, well, what are my good skills? And my good skills, I suppose, is apparently koe whakahoahoa, making friends. So
are you pretty good at that, bro?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know you could get a job. Like, what's your job? Well,
just being friendly.
I'm really good at making friends. Do you think you could make me a manager of making friends? But partnerships are it's a hot topic now. It's the new big thing. Councils, businesses. So you look at a business that sells stuff, they used to call them clients, so a client manager or an account manager.
Yeah, that's right.
Now they're a partnership manager, because it's all about partnership.
Yeah.
So it's all about we're giving you a product and you're giving us money, but the value in that relationship is longevity. We want you to continue buying from us. So we've got to work on how nice our relationship or our partnership. So the product's serving your business and that you're continuing to support us, and it's a reciprocal thing. So this whole concept around partnerships, it's huge at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I know, QLDC professes to be a treaty partner, right? So I think it's important, and I'm so glad that you came on board, bro.
Cheers.
Because I always had this fear that a workplace calls itself a treaty partner but doesn't really do anything to have the rubber hit the road.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do these, I hate to overuse this word, but you do these tokenized gestures to make it look like you care. Now, for me, QLDC doesn't suffer from that.
No.
Like, from the outside looking in, I understand why people can think that because they they're not privy to what really goes on inside.
Yeah.
But you and I are privy to the goings on, and the real effort from the ELT, the executive leadership team, to sort of, to encourage things Māori, man.
Even within themselves, bro, and this is the stuff that you don't see behind the scenes, is the fact that when they have a weekly meeting, of executive managers, and they open each meeting with karakia. They close with karakia.
Yep.
They learn new karakia once they feel like they've mastered it.
They learn pepeha.
They learn pepeha. They have a go at leading karakia by themselves,
Yep.
So there is efforts within themselves, and they want to see that within their staff as well. Because we're a big employer in this district.
Yep.
One of the biggest. So
yeah. I remember when Megan Miller came through. She came through and did the full year of te reo training at SIT. Yeah, I was a kaiawhina for her class, so it's really good. She's one of the ELT at QLDC. Yep. We've got Glenn currently enrolled in te reo Māori classes as well.
Right. He's doing his classes.
Yep. So our mayor is currently enrolled in te reo Māori classes as well. And I've seen so many kaimahi, or so many of my colleagues have come through the SIT year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4.
It's a privileged position to sit in, because you get a really good sight of. Yeah, I can see why that's uplifting, because in such a small community, to be able to see the small little thing. I think about people like Councillor Whitehead, Esther. Yeah, and she's a rock star.
Well, she's another one. She came through. I think she might have been in the same intake as Megan, but she came through and did the SIT classes as well.
Yeah.
So I remember Esther really well. She was fantastic. She had to come back because she couldn't complete 1 year, but she came back and completed it another year.
It's just those courses, it's not just rock up every now and then and we'll talk a little bit of Māori. It's a big commitment.
It is. It's a full year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every week, and there is homework, and
there is homework.
Yeah. It's it's a massive.
And assessments. You do many assessments throughout the year.
Are you back teaching?
What's that?
Are you back teaching?
I am. I'm doing some beginner courses through Southern Reap.
Oh, okay.
So they're only 8 weeks because I can't really commit full time to the SIT thing anymore. So, I'm giving my wife a break from it. So, but I can't help myself. So I am still teaching beginner at Southern Reap. So
Cool.
Yeah. But awesome. Man, interesting chat this one, bro. I think
so many different places you could go with it, though.
Yeah. I mean, I love the discussion about how do we fit Māori into the workplace, and how difficult is it? And
well, for me, it's about how do we do everyone honour.
Yeah.
Right. So, for instance, for me as a Māori and a Māori leader, sometimes it's really difficult because hearing, mispronounced words or people ignoring tikanga or something like that hurts me inside. But when you think about it from the other side of the spectrum, and people are takes a lot of takes a brave person to give something a go when you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so how do I as a Māori leader give someone that is reluctant or doesn't have great pronunciation or is a little bit nervous, how do I do them honour? And so that's through, when they give it a go, I acknowledge them.
Yeah, you have to, Yeah, I think so.
And I suppose where I think we're getting to in our journey at QLDC is we've now got some people that are still down there where it's still going to be a struggle and it's going to be uncomfortable, and so we try and do them honour, but we've also got people down the other end who are trying to extend themselves and really take initiative and push the envelope. So we've got to play between that. So I think it's just understanding that. I think if it wasn't for purposeful efforts, which sometimes can be seen as tokenistic, you know,
it's a struggle.
My nana always said that in order to make onion soup, you've got to have onion in there. Right, and so sometimes it's onion flavouring, you know, sometimes it's not actual onion. Sometimes it's got to be a little bit fake.
Yeah, right.
And so...
I get it, I get you.
You've got to... It's better to see it than not to see it.
Yeah.
But then it's about how do we have an honourable, a mana-enhancing conversation to say, okay, cool, I think you're ready to move to the next step now.
Yeah.
And we'll have that conversation at our work.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, I think it's time for the organisation to take the next step.
Yep.
But also laying the foundations that's always there for our new people that are coming in, or our people that aren't quite there yet, so on and so forth. But this has been a really cool kōrero. I think at some point we'll end up coming back talking about how we integrate Māori into the workplace again. But I think this is actually a good chew all by itself. Yeah. Right.
So on that note, we might sign off this one. And thanks for the chat, bro. I think this was a really important peek into the struggles that both of us come up against within QLDC as a Māori, trying to integrate our culture. Yeah.
How rewarding it is, though, as well.
Yeah,
like, it's worth it enough that we stick around.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, to be fair, because it's Queenstown, so there's different. There's different characteristics down here that you wouldn't come up against in other districts. So,
I shout out one of our colleagues. I won't mention him by name. That stood up and he spoke some pretty decent deal yesterday when we had an event. To the point where we both looked at each other and went, "This guy come from?"
Yeah, got to have a chat to him.
But he made a comment in which he thanked the hosts of the event for the opportunity to practice tikanga.
Yeah,
because it's not something that he gets to do often.
Yes.
And so I thought that was pretty powerful, bro.
That's good. Yeah. That was the reason I wanted to grab him.
Practice.
Because I have the benefit of having... I've connected with so many different people throughout the South Island mostly, where I get plenty of opportunities to be a part of those practices. So I was really keen to go and shoulder tap him, had a bit of a kōrero to him,
nice.
And I'm keen to bring him in. So if he's serious about wanting to do more of that, we'll find opportunities for him, you know.
Yeah. Tough for people that are in those really busy management roles, but I think it's about setting the table for him so that when he's ready, we're ready.
Yeah,
you know? So,
that's right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool, bro. Well, on that note, I think we might sign off this episode. So, if you all liked that, and how could you not like that? But pop us a like down there with the old thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you next time on The Tune Māori.